Hello, SpongeGex here with more custom stage footage from Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And this first stage is inspired by the Sonic the Hedgehog movie design. Oh boy. You know, it's like, I think the design could work if the eyes were just different. I also find it kind of strange how they got rid of his gloves and they gave him white hands instead of, like, really, I don't really think hedgehogs have white hands. They have skin-colored hands. It's just so weird to see Sonic with hands regardless. This doesn't bug me as much, but I also noticed they gave Sonic, like, white belly fur. He usually has skin-colored belly fur. You know, it's like, I'm still planning on seeing the Sonic movie, but so far I'm kind of let down by it. I mean, like, Jim Carrey as Eggman, I think looks amazing, but honestly, I'm just more disappointed that there aren't any other Sonic characters in it, it appears to be, especially if you, especially if that leaked script is anything to go by. It just implies that Sonic and Eggman will be the only characters in the movie unless we get a sequel. Because it sounds like the movies are leading up to Eggman, like, getting to Sonic's world, and so sequels would be about Sonic having to go back to his own world to save it, and so there it's like where we'd see him meeting his friends for the first time. So I can imagine, like, if they made a Sonic 2, it would be focused on Tails and possibly Amy. And then the third one, they'd probably save it for Knuckles or something like that, but you know, it's still disappointing though, because the Sonic series is full of a bunch of memorable characters, and so to see that, you know, I've been waiting years to see these characters on the big screen, and so the fact that we're only going to see Sonic and Eggman, that's really disappointing, if that's anything to go by. Looking forward to Team Sonic Racing though, that comes out in a few days. I got my order for Switch pre-ordered, and it looks like it's reviewing well, so that's great. I think, aside from the limited roster, like, I feel like they could have had more characters in the game, especially if they didn't go by, like, this, story-driven team aspect, but I think one of the most disappointing looking things about the game, though, is the story mode. I hate it when games have a story mode, but there's no cutscenes. It's going the Sonic Freeriders route, where it's just, a bunch of still character portraits with dialogue added to it. I just, you know, it made sense when, like, that kind of form of storytelling was used for games on, like, Super Nintendo or Game Boy Advance, but we live in a day and age where it's possible to actually make animated cutscenes nowadays, and so even if it is just a racing game, you know, that's what, you know, having a story mode is what would help make it stand out from other racing games. Not other racing games have a bunch of cutscenes in them. I mean, that's what kind of made Sonic Riders a fun game, because it actually had animated cutscenes. Then when Sonic Freeriders came out, it, aside from having wonky Kinect controls, what really disappointed me was how underwhelming the story was, both concept and execution. And it didn't help that none of the cutscenes were animated. Yeah, it's, I don't know, so many video game companies are taking shortcuts nowadays, and then when you look at games that actually don't take shortcuts, it just helps, you know, it helps those games stand out, and then it's just real frustrating, but it also looks like a bunch of voice actors were replaced, once again. I mean, it has been, shockingly has been almost 10 years since the current voice cast from 2010 took over, but, well, was it 2010? Yeah, 2010. Because I remember the last game to use the 4Kids voice cast was Sonic and AllStars Racing, Sonic and Sega AllStars Racing, and although it was mostly recycled voice clips, it wasn't until Sonic Freeriders and Colors where the modern voice cast took over. So, it looks like most of the voice cast is still here, but it looks like they replaced quite a few characters. So, like, Laura Bailey is no longer the voice that plays the cat, or Omochao. Wherever they got to replace Blaze, though, apparently she also voices Omochao. Oh god, I hope she doesn't sound like the last voice of Omochao. Because Laura Bailey, I thought she did a great job as Blaze, but her version of Omochao was unbearable. I could not stand his voice. unfortunately, so, this stage, oh my god, this is such a troll stage. But, so, but let me see, I think one of the most disappointing ones here is, Travis Willingham is no longer the voice of Knuckles. I'm not familiar with who they got to voice him now, though I don't have the list of who voices these characters. I'm not familiar with any of them, but, as far as I know, the characters who have been replaced, besides Blaze, Knuckles, and Omochao, are Silver, Zavok, and Omega, I believe. Those are the only characters who have new voice actors. So I don't know if they'll sound similar to their previous voices, because, I mean, you know, I remember, like, when we heard that, Kate Higgins wasn't going to be Tails' voice for long, and then, I'm sorry, I cannot remember the name of who currently voices her. Like, I'm familiar with her work, though, but I can never remember her name. Colin something, but, you know, it's like when she took over the voice of Tails, surprisingly, she sounded very similar to Kate Higgins' portrayal of Tails. And so that made, you know, this version of Tails more welcoming. At least for Sonic Boom. I thought, like, in Sonic Forces, he was terrible, but I don't blame that on his voice actors, though. I blame that on the direction. Because even a lot of the other voice actors in the game just sounded off. They didn't sound as, like, good as they did, like, in Sonic Boom for some reason. I blame it on poor writing and direction, but, let's see, so, yeah, I am kind of disappointed, though, because I actually did think, like, Quentin Flynn did a good job as Silver, although what really shames me about all these characters being replaced is we barely got a chance to hear them as voice actors as these characters. Aside from, like, voice clips of them, like, in gameplay, it's like, I don't really feel like we got much, decent interactions between these characters with their voice actors. And so, that's really a shame that they're already replaced. It's like, why were they hired in the first place if we barely got a chance to hear them at all? I would have loved to have seen Laura Bailey do more, Blaze the Cat, because I thought she did a really good job as that character. Quentin Flynn did a good job as Silver. And at least, Travis, at least we got, some, you know, decent lines out of him as Knuckles, but mostly from Sonic Boom, unfortunately. So, if people were wanting to see a more serious version of Knuckles, we just got a sillier version of Knuckles. But I didn't mind a Boom version of Knuckles, though. I was able to accept, okay, this is a different incarnation of Knuckles. We still have the modern Knuckles in the video games. But even then, it's like, wow, I never realized, never really got many video games ever since this new voice cast took over. I remember growing up, Sonic games came out frequently, and, I didn't think all of them were as bad as a lot of people claim. I honestly enjoyed, a lot of these so-called mediocre Sonic games from, like, the mid-2000s more than the ones we've been getting ever since, like, Sonic Lost World. I just am sick of all these Sonic games focusing too much on Sonic being the only playable character. It just feels very underwhelming. I would love to see the other characters get the same gameplay treatment as Sonic, but with their own unique abilities. But one thing I hate is how fans just won't let Sega experiment with the Sonic games. A lot of people try saying, you know, can we get like an open world Sonic game, one that doesn't involve, well, you know, like, kind of like inspired by Mario Odyssey. Then a bunch of fans complain, no, it has to be all about speed. And I just, you know, they say it has to be a race to the finish kind of gameplay, and at the same time, I'm like, haven't we gotten enough of those? And who says just because it's open world doesn't mean Sonic can't be fast anymore? Who says there can't still be, like, speed challenges or anything like that? I mean, Super Mario Odyssey, that was a game that had speed challenges, so imagine those being applied with actual Sonic characters. But, it just really annoys me how, you know, all these bitter Sonic fans just won't let Sega have the chance to experiment anymore, and then people complain, oh, too many of these Sonic games are too similar. It's like, geez, maybe if you gave Sega a chance to experiment. You know, I would love to see, like, another Sonic Adventure-inspired game, one with multiple playable characters, as long as they all share the same gameplay experience as Sonic. I mean, I think, you know, it's like Sonic Adventure, you know, those games had very different gameplay because they were made to demonstrate, like, what the Dreamcast was capable of, and so that's why I had so many different experimental gameplays. But nowadays, it's like, since they got that out of the way, I'd love to see them, you know, experiment with other playable characters, but with Sonic's same gameplay goal of race to the finish. But it's like they really wanted to give like different missions per characters, and I think it would be good to have those as like side missions where completing them could unlock like you know, special unlockables like custom appearances for the characters or new abilities and stuff like that. So it's like, you know, for Tails, it's like his special missions could be where it's all about finding like hidden objects that can be found in high to reach places, and for Amy it could be like collecting a certain number of rings before completing the stage or something like that. Knuckles, that could be kind of like treasure hunting before you know, finding the exit to the stage. So, you know, there's so many different ways they can have it where the characters can have the same gameplay experience as Sonic, but have their own exclusive missions that only they can accomplish. So yeah, anyways, the stage we're at now is based off the episode of SpongeBob that debuted, Plankton, appropriately named Plankton. So here we see Plankton taking over SpongeBob's mind. That episode, I still think it has a lot of memorable moments. I still think one of the funniest moments is just when he brings SpongeBob into his lab. He shows that video of that dog. This is my lab! And this is my laboratory! Did I ever show you my record player? I don't know why, but I miss like the early version of Plankton. I mean, nowadays he kind of has like I don't know, like I loved like how in the older episodes he had like that deep booming voice, but nowadays Mr. Lawrence kind of gives him more of a squeakier, whinier voice. But I mean, I still think Mr. Lawrence does a good job at voicing Plankton, but he just he doesn't sound as evil as he used to be. I just loved how deep his voice used to be. And I still find it funny how he originally auditioned for the role of SpongeBob using the exact same voice he used for Plankton. I mean, there's just something so funny about that. Imagine SpongeBob sounding like that. I'm ready. Bring it around town. This stage cracked me up. It's just Freddy from Scooby Doo looking through a keyhole. So yeah, I heard we're actually getting the first theatrical animated Scooby Doo movie. It'll be computer animated, and I know they kind of leaked how Scooby Doo will look in CGI, and honestly, it looks decent. It doesn't look like the other CGI versions of Scooby Doo we've seen in the past, like the live action one where they tried to make him look more realistic, but there's something off about his face. And then there were like the prequels on Cartoon Network, which made him look even worse. So this one, it's like a good compromise of you know, it's like he looks furry like an actual dog, but they made sure to keep his shape and face from like the cartoons. And so yeah, from what I've seen, it's like, okay, this might be interesting. But I never really got into Scooby-Doo as much. I mean, I remember liking it as a little kid, but as I got older, I just kind of thought the show was a little dated. I still, you know, respect like the characters and stuff like that. I still, you know, like have fond memories of watching Scooby-Doo, but it's just one of those shows where I feel like it's kind of dated, but you still have like a fond nostalgia for it. I mean, I usually get a laugh anytime I see like a parody of it. Like I remember, like Robot Chicken, Family Guy, they usually did some like funny little shout-outs to Scooby-Doo. I never really got a chance to see Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, but I heard that was actually a really good spin-off of the series. Like, I hear that's like the best version of the show. Much better than the last incarnation of this show. Like, oh, Be Cool Scooby-Doo, that looked terrible. Ugh. I did not give that one a chance, and luckily so. I heard it was not very good. Apparently so, it's not even on anymore. I remember how, like, when I first played Melee, I always felt so bad when you had to beat the crap out of the sandbag, but then, it's like you read the trophy description, and Nintendo had to say, like, don't worry, he actually likes being beat around. And I'm not sure if that's supposed to be cute or morbid. Something that likes to be punched around? I guess he doesn't feel a thing and he likes the thrill of it? I don't know, but still sounds kind of messed up out of context. I know a lot of people are upset that the home run contest did not make a return in this game. Honestly, it didn't bug me that much, though, because I thought the novelty of it kind of wore off. I don't know. It's like, there are just some characters who really aren't designed for it, like Captain Falcon. He cannot properly swing a baseball bat, and his Falcon Punch isn't quite as strong as, you know, hitting it with the home run hit that most characters can accomplish. And most people, you know, it isn't much of a challenge when people can just look up, like, the easiest way to beat it. Like, most people would use Ice Climbers or Rosalina and Luma to get, like, good combos. And so, you know, it's like, I can't really complain that it didn't return, because I feel like we've already seen what that can accomplish. Now, I felt like the Wii U and, the Wii U version actually did a good job at making kind of like a successor to it with, what basically was like a rip-off of Angry Birds, where you had to smash the bomb and try to smash as many crates as you could. I thought that was kind of fun, though. That one was one that required both luck and skill. But, I'd say, like, if there's one mode that I was disappointed that did not make a return in Ultimate, that would be Smash Run, because that was, like, the only reason I had coming back to the 3DS version. I got bored of the 3DS version, especially when you have the Wii U version, which is overall more superior in both content and, graphics and features. But, the only thing that 3DS really had that had me come back were its exclusive trophies and, Smash Run. I thought Smash Run was a really fun mode, but the only problem I have with Smash Run was how, I felt like it could have used, like, more areas, like, well, more levels, because just having one big world with the same layout every time gets kind of tiring after a while. It would have been nice if it was more randomized, or, they had, like, some kind of stage selection. Because eventually you just get tired of running into the same places over and over. You want more variety. But even then, though, at least the game was mostly randomized, because there are always different enemies popping up in certain areas, and some of them were just really impossible to avoid, and so that made for some interesting challenges. Because, you know, I especially love how it was inspired by City Trial from Kirby Air Ride, which is... City Trial was the main reason people loved Kirby Air Ride, because Kirby Air Ride was a collection of 3 games. You know, there's the main racing mode, which was okay, but kind of underwhelming. And then there's the top-down, well, the overview mode, I can't remember the name, but top-down mode or something like that. That was, like, the worst part of the game. Not a whole lot of people liked that. But then there was City Trial, where you just, drove around like this big open world, and it was like one of the first, it was like the first and only instance where you actually got to control Kirby in any direction, because Kirby could eventually have his vehicle destroyed, and you'd have to run around till you find another one. And I remember just like thinking, like, darn it, I want Nintendo to make a game like this, where you actually get to control Kirby like this, but he still has his abilities of absorbing enemies and taking their abilities. But unfortunately, Kirby wasn't able to do much when he was outside his vehicle, aside from fly, but it was similar to like how it feels like Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. Yes, you can get out of your vehicle, but it's not very fun because they limited the character's abilities. So, part of me wonders, like, how much better would have Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts have been if Banjo-Kazooie still had their abilities? So it would have encouraged players to want to be in and out of their vehicles at times. And I wish they did that, because I thought that game was a total tease for getting rid of their abilities. But, so back to Kirby Air Ride. City Trial, I loved how chaotic that would get, and you never knew what to expect when you played the game. I mean, I loved how certain bosses would appear and certain missions would obstruct, and then at the end of all of it, you'd have to play like some kind of random mini game where, based off the stat collects you collected, it could help. It could either help you in the mini game or actually ruin you in the mini game, because there are some mini games that require you to have a certain jump height, but if you get too much of it, it can ruin the experience, making you jump too high, which makes it impossible to complete the level. So I thought it was a clever idea how they took inspiration from that mode and brought it over into Super Smash Bros. For 3DS, and it worked perfectly. The only complaint I really had about it was, yeah, it was kind of sad there was no online multiplayer version of it, but then again, even if they did, would it really run well? Let's face it. But I thought it was disappointing how even the local multiplayer mode, it did not have it where you could actually run into the other players who were playing with you. I mean, I think that was the most disappointing aspect of Smash Run, that there was no interactivity with other characters, even CPUs. It's like they were all on their own separate version of the map. The only time they do come together is at the end with the last mini. So here we have a stage inspired by the Squidward dab. I hate dabbing, but I'll admit there's something funny about seeing Squidward do it. How appropriate they use Splatoon music. You're a kid word, you're a Squidward. So is there like a character in this game that like where you just hear their voice over and over and it annoys the heck out of you? For me, it would be Ness. I mean, I think Ness has some pretty neat abilities, but my god, his voice is terrible. I remember, like, I liked his voice in Melee a lot better. There's something about the one in this where it just sounds more annoying. I remember, like, in Super Smash Bros. 1, he sounded annoying. Melee, he sounded better. But ever since 3DS and Wii U, they redid his lines, and they just sound weird. I don't know. I think that is one of the most annoying assist trophies. It is almost impossible to avoid that thing. Every time you try, it's like the CPU is programmed to guess what your next move will be. I think we can all agree that if there's one assist trophy that all of us should be thankful never made a return since its debut, that'd be Mr. Rossetti. Like, I was surprised to realize, wow, they didn't even bring him back for Wii U or Brawl, but it's like, well, I mean, Wii U or 3DS, but thank God they didn't. He was the most useless assist trophy ever. I mean, yeah, some could say the Nintendo is a distraction, but at least it's a cute distraction. Mr. Rossetti, that was just an annoying distraction. I forgot to mention this in some of my previous videos, but I hope I hope Super Smash Bros. Ultimate can eventually get some kind of patch that smoothens out the graphics, or at least makes it optional in some form, because, one thing I cannot stand about, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is a lot of the, like, attack effects are just, like, really solid and thick looking. I liked it better when they looked more transparent and realistic. Things like the flames, the swipes, the smoke clouds, and they're just too distracting in this game. And it can, I mean, yes, they do give you the option to disable it, like when you're pausing and taking screenshots, but what about, like, for video modes? It still becomes a major distraction. You can't disable that stuff in video mode, and sometimes you want to keep the visual effect intact, you just don't want it to be as thick as it is. So I really do hope they can make, like, some kind of update that, because it looks like they did rush a lot of these effects. They don't look as polished as they did in the past. I mean, it's pretty sad when you can realize that Melee had more realistic-looking Smash effects, even if it's more limited graphics, but, heck, I don't even think the 3DS had such thick-looking, and that one had the most limited out of all the art styles, besides Super Smash Bros. 1, of course, but, however, another thing is, I really hope that they can somehow find a way to polish the shading in this game, because I honestly think the shading looks terrible. Like, if you pause the game and rotate the camera, you can notice how jagged and pixelated a lot of the shadows look. It looks terrible. I mean, not even Melee or Brawl had that bad of shading. And I feel like, there's just a lot of paleness in some of the graphics in this game. It's like, you just notice, like, how in a lot of levels, some of the characters look kind of washed out. You think their colors would stand out more, or I don't know what it is about it, but I just feel like the graphics in this game should have been a lot better, especially for an HD entry. I mean, yes, I know it pretty much uses the same graphics as, like, the Wii U version, but, I mean, even the Wii U version was kind of terrible. I thought, you know, that was the first entry in HD, and I thought, for the first entry in HD, it should have looked a lot better. Then again, this game does have a whole lot of playable characters, so maybe they had to sacrifice the graphics in order for it to work, I don't know, but hopefully that rumor of a new Switch model is true, because if they made, like, a better graphics Switch that somehow enhanced the graphics of this, I would be fine with that. But, yeah, I really do think this game could use some kind of polishing. Like, I remember past Super Smash Bros. Games, they gave you, like, optional settings that could, like, improve the graphics in exchange for, like, lowering the frame rate a little bit or something like that. I mean, even Melee had something like that. It had, like, a little mode that could enhance the sharpness or make it blurry. And I don't recall this version even having that option. Maybe it does and I just forgot, but I don't know. Well, that's all I have to show for now. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Goodbye.